So first things first, I got to throw away that pad. I don't know why anybody wants to use a pad when they squat, but I guess they have a poor little sensitive neck. Oh, my aching little neck. But on that note, today I'd like to talk to you about the relationship that we all get to know fairly well when we're in the gym or in sports in general. It's the relationship that you make with pain. And like it or not, if you want to have a relationship with the body, you better well make a relationship with pain, because the body is the messenger of a lot of it. The longer you train, the longer you live on this planet. One thing you can be sure of is that at some point your body will be speaking to you in the language of pain. So ultimately, I look at the bodybuilding path as really a spiritual path. I don't look at it as an ego path. I mean, a lot of people look at bodybuilding and lifting weights as the ego path. If they don't really understand it, they'll say, okay, that's all about the ego. You're trying to look bigger and look better for the beach and all this kind of thing. But ultimately, I don't look at it as the way I look as much as making a relationship with pain. Learning the language of it, learning to understand the difference between one pain or another pain. Some pain is good, some pain is bad. I mean, some pain means that you're tearing a muscle and some pain means that you're growing a muscle. What is the difference between the two? And as you become more advanced in this path and older and wiser, you will start to make quite a differentiation between the two types of pain or multiple types of pain. Okay, so you are becoming a master of pain on this path. You're becoming a master, like any warrior really, you're becoming a master of this stimulus known as pain and pleasure, and understanding how to navigate the murky waters of the body, So ultimately it boils down to communication. Ultimately, it boils down to how your body is communicating to you at all times, and you're learning, kind of like Indiana Jones or some sort of archaeologist or something, how to decipher the code. It's almost like you're uncovering your own Rosetta Stone of how to understand what the body is saying to you. Because most of the problems you have with the body are because you are misunderstanding what it's telling you. I mean, it's always about misunderstanding. You think, hey, I feel pretty good today, and then you go play a sport or do whatever activity you have planned, and of course you snap something and you're like, okay, I guess I misinterpreted the message. I misinterpreted the signal, right? So ultimately, when you look at it, training is about making a deeper relationship with the body, a deeper relationship with the limbs and how they fire, the coordination, and understanding when to push, when not to push. And ultimately, there are a lot of people I know in the gym where they say, Jason, why don't you lift 4 plates today or go heavier and stuff? And I'm like, yeah, well, I probably could today, but my body says no, So that's the difference between us old dogs and the young bucks that are in the gym. We've learned to listen because the body will say, yes or no. And we've learned that the body is the master, not us, because the body is, punished us quite strongly when we have not listened to it. So this is really what you're learning to navigate on this path. Like it or not, it's a spiritual path. It's a path of awareness. It's a path of understanding what is your body saying to you. So today I'm doing 3 plates for squats, and of course my range of motion is dictated based on what my body is telling me. So some people say range of motion must be bigger or greater or smaller. It just depends. It always depends on what my body's telling me that day, because some days I'm tighter than other days, some days I'm looser than other days, some days my knee hurts, some days my knee doesn't, some days my back feels great, sometimes it doesn't, and I work with that. I cater my motion, I cater everything based on what my body's saying to me. Remember, I'm learning to decipher the code of pain. It's like I'm a coder. I'm like one of these hackers. I'm a body hacker. I'm learning what the code is saying to me. I'm like Neo in the Matrix, think of me that way. Then you won't be trying to judge me based on what you see with other bodybuilders. You'll be looking at me in a different way altogether, because I'm trying to decipher what is the body saying to me. So the fact is that when you learn that this is really what this path is about, it really takes the ego out of it. It takes a lot of the torture out of this path and the suffering, because you start to see that lifting weights is more about developing a relationship. It isn't about submitting the body to your will. Okay, although you will skirt those dangerous waters here and there and try to get yourself to push beyond limitations, but ultimately you're doing this in a balanced way. So today I felt like going to 365. It felt like I felt okay, but ultimately I'm careful when I lower the weight eccentrically, and I'm saying, okay, this is the first time I'm doing this for a while, so I got to be careful. You can see I'm like an old man there, gingerly up and down. But the reason why I'm doing this is because when you're moving into different territory than you're usually moving into, you have to be careful. You have to give your body time to communicate with you. And how you do this is you eccentrically lower the weight slowly. You're not trying to rush through the exercise just to get the set over with, right? And from squats, I'll go upstairs, and here's the view. I've mentioned the Smith machine a few times. I like to do lunges or one-legged squats on the Smith machine. Depends what you want to call them, but one-legged squats, I guess, would be the apt term or the proper way of saying it. But I figured I'd try this machine out, and it's owned by Joel McCain at Blacksmith Fitness upstairs, and he's been kind enough to let me use some of his equipment up there. So this is a neat sort of machine. It can be used for a lot of things. I mean, they have an attachment there where you can do calf raises and squats, and you can do all sorts of exercises on this machine, but this is one of the exercises I'm experimenting with today. Just light, just to stretch the butt out, stretch the glutes out, and to get some one leg movements in. Now, any of you out there that have stuck to two-legged movements for legs, you're really missing out, because one-legged movements will really show you where your imbalances are. And it really does activate a lot more of the adductor muscles and a lot more of the glutes, and you will get extremely great leg development. I remember back in the day when I first went to one-legged squats on the Smith machine, from just doing leg presses and squats as the majority of my leg routine. After doing Smith machine squats, within 1 month I put about 1/4 to 1/2 inch on my legs. I know that seems extreme, but it was almost like my body was just waiting for a different type of stretch, a different type of way of activation, I guess you could say. So again, different type of pain. That's what this, routine's all about. There's all sorts of pain, and I guarantee you, one-legged squats, they send you into a realm of pain that is unlike any squat pain you've ever felt. It's brutal. I mean, you could get some pretty nasty sort of good burning pain in your legs, and your hamstrings get great development from it as well. So I highly recommend it. So if you haven't tried that in your routine and you're struggling to put on leg mass, this is definitely one of the great ways to do it. So give it a try. From there, I went to overhead press, and I rather the seated press a lot of times if I really want to get the shoulder involved. But overhead press as well, standing is not bad, especially if you have a gym that has a seated press that unracks the weight from behind. And if you have shoulder problems, I would not recommend, behind the neck press of any kind, or, unracking the weight from behind. I find it's harder on the shoulders. And I know a few guys that have hurt their shoulders pretty bad from doing that. But anyway, I just rather unrack weight from the front. It's just easier on the shoulder, and I find it's just easier on the rotator cuff in general, So if you notice, I don't lock out at the top. I keep constant tension on the delts. I'm just locking out here to show you just for a second, that's my full range there. But ultimately, I just keep the tension on the front delt and just keep the motion. It's almost like a train. It's just a constant pumping of the muscle, because I'm trying to basically get the blood in there and hit failure as fast as possible. So remember when I said that this path is about learning to communicate with the body, to understand what the pain is telling you? Well, this is the movement that has emerged from me understanding the type of pain that is good and the type of pain that is bad, okay? So the constant tension on the muscles, it has been shown to me through trial and error that this is a positive pain. It's helped me put on mass on the shoulders and given me a stable groove. And when I stretch out the arms or lock them out or come down and touch the chest, and the shoulder does the click type thing or clicks in and out a little bit, that has been shown to me to be a negative pain, and usually there will be a bursitis or some sort of problem that emerges in the joint a day or two later. So only through years of trial and error have I learned this, and this is where I've developed my ranges of motion based on what is the easiest mileage on the joints, but the most amount of stimulus on the muscle at the same time. Okay, so you have to find your torque curve. That's what I always say, the torque curve, right? So pain's your teacher, pain's your teacher. So what is your pain telling you? That's what you can ask yourself. Is your pain telling you that the muscle is hitting fatigue, or is the pain telling you that the joints are actually getting a beating? And it's really important for you to differentiate between the two. sometimes I like to rep out with a light weight just to really pump the blood in the muscles, especially with arms. I like to really get a feel in there and really pump the blood in there. And then the odd time I'll do some heavy sets, but yeah, you'll notice that I'll sometimes do insane high amount of reps, like 30 or 40 reps for arms. And I noticed that if you blend, the high rep days and the low rep days, and you really blend up the reps with their arms, it really seems to help them respond and grow. And you'll notice that your form changes subtly when you use lighter weight as opposed to heavy weight. And sometimes those adjustments in form also create a different type of stimulus. So I'm not saying one form is wrong or one form's right. I'm just saying that changing it is going to change the type of muscle fibers that are basically being hit, whether it's the long head of the tricep or the external head of the tricep. It really does change depending on what kind of weight you're using and your form, right? So you'll notice that I'm bringing my elbows forward. The reason why I'm bringing my elbows forward is because I'm trying to hit the long head of the tricep and include that and use a little bit of that momentum to then extend the arm so that way I get the external head of the tricep. But that's it for me. And make sure you sign up for the newsletter if you haven't done so far. The link is down below. And share this video if you like it. Thanks for watching. Take care for now.
Do it your way.
Now you know my name, calling me in a drought. I came to Ridge in 215 and sorted it all out.